This is probably gonna be the most controversial video I've ever made, that I'm ever going to make. I feel like somebody needs to say this. Out of respect for my parents and also for their protection, because I know not only are they watching, their friends and relatives are probably watching too. So obviously I'm not gonna turn this video into a scandal. Besides, the specifics of my story are beside the point, okay? The point is, the I in the video title is more of a collective I. I want to bring awareness to some of the common tropes of abuse and trauma that we've all undergone, some more than others. And that's the point. Like, I want you to watch this video and find yourself in it and realize, oh, I didn't realize I was abused and I need to get help. So on and so forth. Like, it's not about me, but sharing some of the tropes of trauma that I've undergone or not. Again, protecting my parents here. You can find a sense of solace and validation. Like, I thought Ella had it all together. I thought her childhood was like a walk in the park. It is not, rest assured. But also, big disclaimer, I was never physically abused or molested by my parents, which, believe it or not, unfortunately, is pretty common, especially in America. I don't know why, but some parents are monsters, okay? I love my parents. I'd take a bullet for them, literally, like without a doubt. If someone put a gun to my head, asked me to save my parents or myself, I would sacrifice myself. Like, this has never been about hating my parents or resenting them or like seeking retribution. This is about recognizing your parents' wrongdoings and realize that you deserved better, that you deserved to be treated fairly, and recognizing their limits and love them for the good parts about them. But you can't do that. You can't skip all that without looking at them critically, without looking at them objectively. So, let's look at my story objectively, shall we? First of all, a divorced family, that's an instant no-no, okay? I'm not saying all divorced families look the same. I'm not saying even married families are any happier. But a divorced family, a divorced pair of parents, instantly dwarfs you, instantly handicaps you. You're dealing with family dissolution, conflict, either in the most heated, overt fashion or in a more subtle, secretive, and covert fashion. Think World War II versus Cold War. Either way, you're gonna have it pretty bad. And because you're raised by two different parents and two different families at times, because they remarry, or you're sometimes tossed with your grandparents. Yeah, because you're raised by different people, different families. You're raised to believe in different ideologies, you have different value systems, you have different sets of dreams thrown upon you. As in, your mother might have this expectation from you, and your father might have this expectation from you. And you spend your whole life trying to be a diplomat, trying to appease either parents or both parents, and you fail to do so. And you fail to do it miserably because you can never please both parents or both families, and you can never please yourself. You don't even know who you are. Okay, first of all, let's start there. Like, you never were given a chance to develop your full identity. That's robbing your childhood from you. I'm 27. I just turned 27 recently, and I'm only starting to find out who I am. Granted, this isn't the first year of doing inner child work, but this is the first time in my life that I've lived for myself, that I've allowed myself to be my own person. Like, there were times in my life that I wished I was two people or nobody. Like, I either wished I can, like, metamorphosize, like split into two people, so I can like be one child for this person and then be another child for this other parents rather, or I wish I was invisible. I wouldn't say I was necessarily suicidal, but I at times wish I could just dissipate, okay, into the thin air, gone, because I just couldn't deal with like being torn apart. Luckily, as you grow older, you become stronger, you become more independent, some of which is unnatural, some of which is like you're forced to grow up overnight. But I could afford to live on my own now. I could afford therapy. It's been 10 years in the making, but I'm here. I made it. I can finally heal my 27 years of trauma. And then for someone else's story, it could be that their parent beat them, parents' new spouse beat them, or are just sketchy, maybe bad with money, or maybe they married your parents for their money and you try to tell your parents about it and they refuse to listen to you. They're like, oh, what do you know? You're a child. Until they essentially gamble their life savings away and you're expected to pick up the slack when it wasn't your fault in the first place. As is with any kid that grew up in a divorced family, you're expected to pick up the slack. You're expected to become the parent for your parent, or worse, the spouse for your parent. Either way, it's reversed, it's perverted. Some might even say, like some psychologists might even call it covert incest, which sounds gnarly, but it makes sense. Because the child never got the chance to be their own person, to be a child. They live solely to please you. They become an extension of their parents. They never fully develop their personality and they never fully develop organically. Whatever growth that they have, it's all stunted. They've been having an adult job for their entire childhood. And if they're lucky, they now have to relive their childhood again, which is what I'm doing. And I'm very fortunate to be able to do so. And I know not everybody gets to do that. Some people may not even know they've been abused. I didn't, because I wasn't physically abused. I've sort of just dismissed, downplayed, or disregarded my subtle forms of abuse. Or if you were beaten as a kid, don't then say, oh, everybody gets beat in my neighborhood. So you should all go to therapy. You should all, at least in your heart, know that you didn't deserve that. Another thing, I want you to stop saying, oh, but somebody else had it worse. Okay, what happened to me was personally, like, perfectly okay. No. Just because you're drowning a little closer to sea level and somebody else is like drowning 5,000 miles deep into the ocean, you're both drowning. Okay, you might be better off, but you still need to get help. And when you get help, you can help those who are suffering even more, like your parents. Nevertheless, the weight and the severity of talking about this, even in the most matter-of-fact fashion, is not lost on me, okay? Because it's such a social taboo to look at your parents objectively and talk about it. It's probably more taboo than getting a divorce because society glorifies parenthood so much so that it's impossible to hold any parent accountable, and the abuse cycle just perpetuates for generations until somebody does something about it. And it starts with talking about it. I want to add that although I do run the risk of vilifying my parents and coming across as just another spoiled and ungrateful brat, this is hopefully a wholesome video, okay? Because talking about your parents' faux pas is ironically the only way you could ever have a functional and amicable relationship with them. You're actually doing your parents a service by, at least in your heart, holding them accountable and getting the help you need to heal your trauma. Because when you heal yourself, you heal all the generations before you, you heal all the generations after you. Besides bringing awareness to this problem, I, through this video, want to create a dialogue. I want to start a dialogue and create a safe space. You can message me, you can leave comments. It's all anonymous.